Okay, gentlemen, so Coach Manero talked about some of the basics there with where in the box to stand and so forth. I'm going to talk about these 6 things here. The first 2 are questions, and so I'm going to deal with the swing from the bottom up, and then, like I said, the first 2 are questions there. The first question is stride or not. When I'm working with real little kids, to me, it doesn't matter so much if a very little kid, T-ball kid, coach pitch, this and that, even strides. That is a little more advanced, and if a young player is having trouble making solid contact, I have no problem with that young man not even striding. Because if I start in that athletic position, like Coach Manero was talking about, and I don't even stride, I can still take a pretty aggressive swing without even striding. And so for me, with a real little kid who's just starting out, there is no need for a stride if they are having trouble making contact with the ball. No stride just takes one less thing out of the picture that they have to worry about that takes them away from seeing the ball and making contact. If a young player is hitting the ball fairly well, he's squaring the ball up, as we say, hitting the ball in the barrel, hitting the ball fairly hard, then I can work in now a stride. Okay? So the first thing is on the stride, they don't have to do it. If they're hitting the ball well, then they can start to incorporate a stride. Some kids right away will get that concept of stepping and striding into the ball, but some won't. And if they are not hitting the ball at all, take that stride away, keep their feet still so that their eyes can focus more on just making contact. When they get better, then they can incorporate a stride. Next one is load or not. Loading up for the swing is another little more advanced concept. And basically, if you think of it as a boxer. If I start my punch in my hand right in front of my chest, I can hit the bag or the person. I'll be able to do that, but I'm not going to be able to hit them with any force. If I can load up a little bit and turn my front side in and then open up the punch, I'm going to have a much more aggressive swing to my punch. The same thing applies with hitting. But then again, like I said, with real little kids who are having trouble making contact with the ball, it's okay that they don't stride, and for me, it's okay that they don't even load up. If they have their hands in the starting position, like Coach Manero said, and they're having trouble hitting the ball, no stride and no load up, they just go straight from here to the ball, whether it's off a tee or whether it's a little coach pitch. To me, it doesn't matter. It's more important to get them into the habit of making contact and developing some confidence. When they do that, they can incorporate a stride, and when they do that even more, they can incorporate loading. Now, there's a lot of problems when it comes to loading up, and here are some of the things that you will see from a lot of kids. If they're starting their hands in the right place, like Coach Manero said, some kids will exaggerate that load up, and that's where we start to get some problems. Some kids will load up by taking that arm straight back and barring that front arm, and that's going to make their arm very long, their swing very long, and they're going to have a tough time hitting at some point. Some kids will keep their arm fine, but they will load up like this and wrap the bat around their head. So the point is, when you're loading up, there's a lot of things that can go wrong. But basically, all the load up position is turning your front side closed a little bit. That shoulder comes in and down slightly, and your weight shifts back a little bit to your back leg. Okay? We're trying to get the kids in the habit that they need to go back before they go forward. Same thing with pitching, what Coach Manero talked about. Pitcher's weight has to come back on the back leg before they go forward. Otherwise, they're not going to have any power. The same thing applies with hitting. So a young man can start with his weight 50-50 in between his feet, and then when the pitcher starts to come towards him, that's basically the timing where he starts to move back. So the pitcher's coming towards him, he starts to load up, turn that front side in, move his hands back a little bit, and he's going to have a little bit more power when he goes forward because his weight is back instead of just starting here and going forward. But again, a lot of that will have to do with how skilled the player is in terms of how we actually teach that. The next one is hands inside the ball, and this is one of the biggest things that kids have to develop as they get older. And Coach Manero talked a little bit about it, about creating that short path to the ball. And I think it's easier to talk about what a kid doesn't do with regard to hands inside the ball. And if I'm lined up this home plate here, what you'll see a lot of kids do is their first movement with their hands and the bat is out. Okay? That's called casting. It's like they're taking a fishing rod and casting it out in front of the plate. That is going to wrap that bat all the way around, create a big, long, loopy swing, and it's going to be a matter of time before the pitchers who throw a little harder are going to be putting that ball by them. So hands inside the ball is basically just taking the quickest path with your swing. Your hands are starting in this position here, and your hands are taking that path inside the ball, which basically means if the ball is out here, my hands are coming inside between the ball and my body. My hands are not coming out on the plate there. Now, the analogy I like to give is, you know, I'm married and sometimes my wife does force me to watch figure skating, so I know how that works. But one of the things I learned from figure skating is the same principle applies. If you've ever seen a figure skater spin real fast, usually it starts with their arms stretched out to the sides, and they spin and they go very slow. And then when they want to start whipping around, they bring their hands closer to the body, and that allows the body to spin very rapidly. The same principle applies with hitting. As soon as I take my hands away from my body, everything slows down. But if I can keep my hands in my swing closer to my body, that's like that figure skater spinning very rapidly because the hands are closer to the body. They can develop a lot more bat speed, and it's just a quicker path to the ball. So as they get older, keeping those hands inside the ball becomes more and more important. It's going to allow them to hit off-speed pitches a little bit better. It's going to allow them to hit faster pitchers better. And all those things are going to become more important as they get older. And it starts with keeping their hands inside the ball, changing that path of their hands from away from their body to inside their body. More of a direct path to the ball this way instead of around. So that's what it means by hands inside. The next one is front foot, back foot. And I have two separate categories there because kids have to develop the habit of only moving one foot at a time. When the front foot is moving, the back foot stays still. When the back foot is moving, the front foot stays still. When kids are hitting, if they ever have both feet moving at the same time, a lot goes downhill very quickly. So if I am going to stride and my feet are set, when my front foot moves, my back foot stays still. When my front foot lands, now my back foot takes over. What you'll see a lot of kids do is when they swing, especially when they're off balance, is they have both feet moving at the same time. They will stride, and then when they turn the back foot, their front foot turns also, and now they're falling all over the place. So that's a good tip to give kids, and that's something they can visualize. Tell them they never have both feet moving at the same time. It is front foot moves and then the back foot moves. It's never both at the same time. Now, when they are striding, the direction of their stride and how their foot lands is very important. When I was talking about outfielders, I mentioned that in a gym, you can hear them land flat-footed, which shakes their eyes. Well, the same principle applies with hitting. If a hitter strides and lands flat-footed, it's going to send a jolt up their leg and shake their eyes. And of course, if the ball's coming in, especially hard and curving and so forth, you don't have a chance if your eyes are shaking. Hitting's hard enough, but if our head is moving around and shaking, we're making it impossible. So when they land on that stride, kids want to develop a soft landing, and that means toe to heel. They land on their toes and then they put their heel down. That's a very soft landing. It allows my eyes to stay still. If they are striding and landing flat-footed, that's going to shake my eyes temporarily. Now, when they stride, a right-handed batter, when he strides, his foot is going to be pointed towards where the second baseman is. If a kid is striding and his toe is facing the pitcher, you can see my front side is pulling out way too soon. If I am striding and I keep my foot totally closed and my toes are facing this way, it's going to be very hard for me to rotate my hips. So I'm going to open my foot just a little bit, and if I am right-handed when I stride, my toes are going to be directed towards the second baseman when I land on that stride. If I am left-handed, it's going to be the opposite. I'm going to stride, and my foot's going to open slightly, and my foot is going to be directed towards the shortstop. That's going to keep me closed enough where I'm not going to fly everything out, but it's also going to give me a little bit of flexibility to open those hips so that I can get my whole body into the swing there. The next one is the contact point, and this is one thing that I'm real big on. Coach Manero showed a lot of different stances from a lot of those major leaguers. You have the Eric Davis, you have the Gary Sheffield, you have a lot of different weird stances. But if you were to slow a major leaguer hitter down, I don't care if you're talking about a power guy like a Ryan Howard and a singles guy like an Ichiro Suzuki, every single major league hitter at the point of contact is right here. It doesn't matter who it is. You can look at any picture on the internet, you Google guys, look at their swings. I don't care if they're singles hitter or power hitter, every single major league hitter is right here at the point of contact. And so there's a lot of really good drills that can emphasize kids to get to that point. One is called the reverse and swing drill, where if I had a ball set up on a tee, I would have a kid start in that contact point with the bat right behind the ball with his back foot turned like he should be. And when I say go, he's going to come up and then straight back down to the ball and hit. And what that's going to do is teach him the proper bat path from the contact point, straight back, and then straight down and make contact. Just teaching him that path, and all he's doing is turning straight to the ball, making contact, and working on getting to that proper contact point. Because I can do a lot of things wrong with my swing, but if I am right here, I'm going to make contact with the ball. And so that's an important part of my teaching when I deal with hitters, is focusing a lot on that contact position. The last one there is a follow-through, and I'm a little different when it comes to teaching follow-throughs. I really don't care too much about how kids follow through. The reason is, after they get to that contact point and they have been aggressive to that point and slightly through it, the ball's gone. There's nothing else I can do to impact where that ball goes. So if I want to get to that point and then let go, hey, no problem, I don't care. If you want to keep both hands and finish high, that's fine. If you want to finish low, that's fine. I don't care how you finish because the ball is gone. When I deal with hitters, the only thing I really focus on is what they do from the start to contact point. That's the only thing that is going to make an impact on where that ball goes. After the ball leaves, there's nothing else I can do to that ball. It's over. And so all my focus is on everything they do prior to the contact. So for me, there really is no right way to follow through. If a kid is striding correctly, he takes a good hand pass to the ball, he's aggressive to that contact point, he swings through the ball and attacks it, how he finishes is up to him. Because the ball's gone, he's already done everything he has to do. So all my focus when I deal with hitters is what they're doing prior to the contact. The follow-through will take care of itself.